Hi, everyone. Welcome to Candid with the Candidates, brought to you by the North Baltimore County Democrats Club, a mini-series where we interview local candidates for voters to really get a feel for their representation on a more personal level. My name is Isabella Lowry, and today we're interviewing Miss Mia Mason, who is running to serve Maryland's 1st Congressional District. Feel free to sit down, chill out, have a snack, and enjoy.
Um, okay, so my first one that I have is, what did you learn from running for office in the past, and how does this election differ from those in previous years? I understood that you ran in 2020, so.
I think the biggest thing that I learned from the 2020 election was resiliency, the ability to adapt, change, something that I'm very familiar with in our military,
Mhm.
because we're always in some type of, at home, then combat environment, then
Right.
work or some big meeting. But it is about being prepared and being able to find a way to get through things. We saw that, in the 2020 campaign, a lot of us were kind of kicked out of our neighborhoods
Mm.
in March. March 12th is coming up. It's a day to kind of remember when, that following weekend, the governor shut everything down, which
Mhm.
also kind of shut down a lot of other normal campaigns.
Right.
Uh, Luckily for me, I was able to just turn on the studio lights and begin talking about my message and delivering that to the captive audience who were also like me, stuck at home. And the best thing that I can say that we did was make sure that people were aware of what was going on in their communities.
Mhm.
And that was vital to our success. And getting people to vote by mail was so important. It's just going to be one of those things that we're looking forward to doing here in 2022, regardless of what the pandemic delivers.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even think about that the pandemic must have just interrupted everything going on, that you had
Yeah,
everything
it
planned
definitely
out.
did. Yeah. When March was kind of ending and April came around, and I was like, okay, is this going to be my normal work routine? Teleworking. I was like, I used to go to school online and do college online.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, these kids have it so easy because I was able to have like 3 jobs and
Yeah.
still go to college, and do all my homework and make A's. And I was like, what are these kids complaining about? I mean, like they have their Nintendo Switch. I don't have a Nintendo Switch, let alone a Nintendo anymore. And it's our attention management
Mhm.
to help them get through this, because it'll make them better, college folks later on,
Right.
and better involved into the workplace, and it'll help us all.
Mhm. Definitely. Um, so as a young queer woman myself, it means a lot to see someone out there representing our community. How will you protect the rights of those belonging to marginalized groups, and what steps will you take to ensure the elimination of systemic oppression in our district and then ultimately, hopefully, our country?
Well, it starts at the local level. We have to take a look at, what our community is doing. It starts at the church, it starts at the parish, it starts in the workplace.
Mhm.
Trying to get things done at the national level, like passing the Equality Act, making sure that we do not allow discrimination to happen in a certain county or town is super important. I just saw that Virginia just passed their legislation to make sure that, hate in the LGBTQ community can't be used as a panic defense. So we have to be able to take additional laws and make sure that, people at the LGBT community are part of that voice to get these additional laws passed in our day and time right now to best protect our future generations from uh, getting that harm done to us
Right.
by those who want to shun us, shame us, and basically discriminate against us by holding us back when we are just as qualified or even more qualified because we have a passion and determination to succeed that they want to, suppress us from getting what we have as a natural right,
Mhm.
to be able to succeed. So even if you're disabled, you're able to do things in order to succeed. I prove that. And I think as a disabled veteran, it's something that everyone is capable of doing. You know, I have to take a look at a good role model who's Tammy Duckworth and what she was able to do and overcome,
Mhm.
you know, and my hats are off to all of those within our community who do this on a daily basis to make a small difference today for tomorrow, because it all adds up.
Right.
And when we have like a big person like President Trump that wants to hurt us, you know, we then stand up and we become united,
Mhm.
you know, and we show our bipartisanship to make a difference, to show that this is in your family as well. It's in your community and it cannot be tolerated. And things changed. And it just didn't require a president to do it. It required our youth to do it as well.
Right. No, thank you. I really like that. I think especially now that the younger generation is getting a lot more involved in things like human rights and politics, it's so hard, especially with such a large figure like President Trump, to try and tackle that all at once. I think it is really important to stress that
Yeah,
if you get
it's
called,
nice not to have a nightmare every day or a social media breakdown
I
every day.
know, no, my Twitter's been much too quiet lately. I was like, I think I'm
So
missing something.
it's a good way to enjoy a breath of fresh air
Right.
and actually realize that you still have a lot to fix in that air, because it's what you're going to be breathing for the next 40, 60, 100 years.
Mhm.
And we need to be able to fix that too.
Right.
Yeah, and gives us time to focus on the other things that are more important.
Yeah.
I spoke to my spouse the other day and was like, hey, we need to slow down and go look at the stars or the sun.
Yeah. Aw. Um, so do you have any goals in mind or opinions on in terms of higher education and affordability? I think especially with the pandemic, a lot of people are asking with like Biden saying that he doesn't want to forgive student loan debt and things like that. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that's a tough choice, just as JFK did, just as Clinton did, as Bush did, as any other president would have to make and stand to a line in order to, you know, work in a bipartisan environment. So I see it as a sacrificial play, but it's still up to us, the progressives, in order to get this done democratically, you know, through the Republican Party, through the Democratic Party, through the Green Party, whatever party you're a part of or organization. To, if this is something that is needed by the masses, we have to be able to apologize, to stand together and do this. You
Definitely.
know, we have an amazing spokesperson who's able to do that with those who are sponsoring it and supporting it. But it's still up to many of us to be able to then get others to call their congressmen, to call their senators and say, hey, Mr. President, it is time for you to listen to us. And we're just tired of yelling at Trump. Well, we can yell at you too.
Right.
We have to hold that accountability to, you know, that line,
Mhm.
because this is what we expect. Another good example is like, you know, our healthcare. You know, some people are able to get affordable healthcare. You know, healthcare enrollment's going to reopen, and we're looking forward to this. But as far as like further education and educational debt, you know, this is just like taking on an entire state of capitalism that's a monopoly. And
Mhm.
we have to be able to stand up to them and fight them and show them that, you know, let's use Texas as an example. You know, imagine if your monthly bill for college was $9,000 a month or $17,000 a month. You know, how many jobs would you work? What type of grants would you do? Would it even be affordable for you to go to school if you went through like a crisis like Texas? You know, $17,000 for an electric bill or $9,000 for an electric bill is normally what people have in student debt. why does it take 40 plus years or 30 years or 10 years to pay all of that back off? We need to be able to, end the debt of our students by getting these corporations to invest in the student. And many companies are starting to switch to that, but it's that mindset that we have to change in the corporate world to invest into an asset, which is the people, and not see us as, liabilities when we become an employee or an employer for those that we wish to hire in order to get what we call work done. Depending on if we're teleworking or not. Those are the things that, those skill sets that you seek out and desire should be paid for. And if you need to provide that additional training, it should be paid for as well. And it will help out and reduce that educational debt, because we need to have like national apprenticeship programs back again, because there's good paying jobs out there from $20 to $60 an hour that require amazing skill sets that would have helped out those in Texas, would have helped out those in hurricane environments, would have helped out a lot, even here in Maryland, to succeed. And we'll be talking about a lot of this later on, so that people can start their new businesses to succeed and not have to rely on being in debt for education first. Because a lot of times, even with the new students that come out of college right now with a lot of debt, they're also told that you don't have the experience, because they've also on the resume, they got their first time job. Imagine if you had a corporation that actually invested in you, sought you out, and hired you, while you were in college based on your skill sets. That would be nice. It'd probably reduce a lot of student debt.
Yeah.
But that is a mindset that takes time to change, and a way that our government and our employers and our employees work, and the way that the economy needs to change to. And it's going to take time.
Okay.
But it's not going to be like overnight, we forgive you $50,000 grant. And I think that's the sacrifice that President Joe Biden has made. And as much as that would get me out of debt, just like any other student, what would I then spend that money on? What is that life lesson going to teach me about if I don't accept that payment?
Right.
I can either have a home for $400 or $600 a month for that college debt. I can't have both. But whether if I have to get a second job or third job, that's what makes America an opportunity for everyone to be able to work together to succeed. And we need to be able to help our minority communities do more of that. And I think that in this past year, they have shown themselves to be more successful than the majority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. So speaking of minority communities, I love that your campaign mentions climate justice. I think too many communities are left to deteriorate after being neglected by the government's own inaction. How will your legislation include communities of color and lower income areas in your plans to help the environment?
Well, it's kind of three different parts there. It is about the infrastructure that they're in right now. It is their current leadership that is failing them. And then providing them an opportunity to develop and make a difference. And then lastly is to make sure that they have something forward to look forward to, bring back that hope and vision for the community so that they can succeed. And it's not just called widening roads or building bridges. It is about actually developing the reputation within the neighborhood that this is a good place to stay and live. And that would really help out a lot of our minority communities to then thrive and grow. And we're going to see that happen in the next 5 years as people have adopted this mindset and end this Trumpism in order to, accept the change that is coming in within their communities.
Thank you. So how do you plan on instating Medicare for all, especially in a time as dire as now with the current COVID crisis?
Well, part of my initial plan was to basically build it in steps. The ACA was an amazing thing to go
Mhm.
forth. We have Senator Sanders and then Jay Paul and their bill 1348 or 1387. I forget which one it was. It's been a while, so I do apologize
No,
for
you're
that.
fine.
But it's about expanding Medicare,
Mhm.
and I want to be able to make it go a little bit further because,
Okay.
like any big group policy, you get a bigger discount with the more people you have.
Right.
I have to take a look at TRICARE, for example, which is something that I have. We have nearly 1 million people in this policy. We got veterans, we got active duty, we got their family members, their spouses, their kids, and we provide all their services for them for a low monthly cost per year.
Mhm.
Why can't we give this to the other 300, million people that actually need it?
Mhm.
Imagine a price point per year that is affordable, that you and your family can afford without going into medical debt. So we have to be able to end that as well so that it doesn't affect you getting a car, a home, or a job because you had an accident or somebody else hit you, or you had a pre-existing condition or a disability that you didn't wish to disclose
Mhm.
when you were getting hired or trying to get a home or something else because then they switch that to you being a liability and not giving you anything, and then making you have to have a harder ship in life in
Mhm.
order to just succeed. And I've been there. And we don't want anybody to be homeless. So we also want to make sure that it's affordable for them. And the number one expense that most families have after rent is healthcare. And most of the time, their employer is the one providing it. And if we switch this over to a full government system, it provides them an opportunity into a network that already exists, is already accepted at a majority of all of the major hospitals and outpatient centers in order to get people the medications, the prescriptions they need, the coverages, the pre-ops they need,
Mhm.
the yearly physicals they need done ahead of time without having to resort to an ER or, some of the stories are the $400 ambulance to the $7,000 ambulance that doesn't get covered by your insurance. So these are things that need to get changed and make it available for the entire family, regardless of your age. And then take this Medicare for all as a stepping stone toward that ultimate goal. We're
Mhm.
not trying to create NHS or anything else. We're trying to create our own healthcare that is available for everyone that will make them healthier and livelier later on so that they can live a better life today. But it doesn't happen today. It happens when we get this work done so that people can afford it
Mhm.
and then have the money to help our economy grow even further.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. So Congressman Harris's recent actions um in response to the storming of the Capitol and everything surrounding were entirely unprofessional and outrageous. What are your feelings towards his behavior that he displayed, and what do you plan to do differently moving forward to prevent another similar incident from occurring?
Well, I have to take a look at history. They say old men don't change, and he probably doesn't see anything wrong with this.
Hmm.
His family probably is there like saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that. You messed up." But all of us are yelling at him saying that you done messed up and this is the last straw.
Hmm.
We have to look at the other times that he's done this.
Yeah.
It's a repetitive pattern of bad conduct and misbehaving, and he believes that he's in the right because he's in the power to do it. And
Right.
it is up to us, the voters, to change that mindset of his, to remove him from office because of, we need to make sure that he is held accountable for his actions
Hmm.
this time. at the ballot box, regardless of, who your ideologies are, what your policies are. You have to look at the actual candidate and say, do you want this person in office any further? And then go from there, and then go with your policies, go with your gut instinct, and not just vote D or R, but actually look at the person in the eye and say, yeah, this person blew me off last time. He decided to bring a gun into the Capitol. He decided to have Holocaust survivors preach to him and go on secret trips overseas to do business. And then try to rush to reopen all of our schools and healthcare centers and churches so that we could be at greater risk during a pandemic. That is dangerous behavior.
Yeah.
That is very authoritarian, and it puts a lot of people at risk.
Right.
It put at least 5,000 plus people at risk that
Mhm.
should have been. And then whenever he did a rally, it just exponentiated everything
Mhm.
because he incited it. So it is something that he and his groups and his followers have adopted, and more than likely they're not going to change their mindset. But the thing is that our other voters who are in the majority need to be able to remove him from office and hold him accountable once he's removed from office. And that's what we're going to be honing into our message
Mhm.
as I speak right now, so that we can actually make people understand that what they've done in their history and their past is exactly what they're still going to do today.
Mhm.
And yes, they can have a change of heart, they can learn from their faults, but if they're going to do it again and try to get the same people reelected in 2024, then they have no place to be in office in 2022.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. I got one more thing.
Okay.
So I think even over the course of this interview, we've mentioned about like unifying people, and I think Biden has placed a stress on that too, and how important that is. Um, but how do you plan on satisfying both rural and urban residents in the district, since there's a pretty vast population? They have very different views and needs. So do you have ideas on how to unite people with conflicting perspectives?
Well, it's about being festive. It is about, sharing the same goals for our communities.
Hmm.
What is needed to make our communities thrive. Bring them to the table, help our mayors, help our down the ballot races of the city councils and other locations that really are the bread and butter of these rural locations, because they're the ones who then go into the suburbs and fix our homes. They're the ones who, build our homes in the
Right.
cities. They're the ones who are some of our elected officials.
Hmm.
So we need to be able to make sure that no matter if they're a farmer, a business owner, or a manufacturer out there, that they actually have a voice here within the city as
Hmm.
well. And if that's taking it to Annapolis or Washington, D.C., allow me to be that voice for you, because sometimes, exactly what you can and cannot do. But if it's a strong enough opinion by the majority or the minorities in the community, we need to be able to get that voice heard so that change can happen. And it will take time, but once we're repetitive enough, as we have been since 2017, uh, we can see what that movement has done.
Hmm.
And it worked great in Georgia, and we're looking to bring that even more successful in other states, and especially here in our rural districts. But that solely relies on ending gerrymandering. The redistricting is something that is crucial to have happen. And if that does not happen, we will end up with the same leadership, with the same ideology, the same authoritarian, and the same issues that deprive our communities, that don't allow them to thrive. And that is, very detrimental, because then things will continue to see the neglect and the decay, and then we'll be faced to pay a steeper price tomorrow when that system fails. And we saw what that happened in Texas. And we need to make sure that that doesn't happen here. And we need to remind people that this is something real. It is a climate crisis as well. And that we have to be able to work to a recovery plan and not wait. We have to do things now in order to make a difference tomorrow.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and that is all I have for today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And I look forward to speaking with you in the future and seeing what your campaign has to offer.
Absolutely. Well, you got every word of it. So, if you have more questions, just please let us know. As always, text, email, call works. But yes, I appreciate the time with you today, Izzy, to take the questions and make sure that that information that I bring from our community is shared.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you. I will
Yep.
see you sometime.
Will do, will do. See you then. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.